Welcome back to Double Sleeved MTG. I'm Seth, and I'm joined by Ty. He's part of would you say it was Team Zen?
Then, yep.
Who's some of the people on Team Zen? And tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so Team Zen's a new team. It was started by Varix and Andy. Some people might know him as NATO. Comedian's part of the team. Evan, Freedom Waffles on the team. There's a bunch of players that you've probably heard of, maybe some ones that you haven't. And we've got big things planned. My name's Ty. I'm a CDH tournament grinder. May have seen me around at some tournaments, and you'll see me at the Invitational at Steel City.
Awesome. By the way, speaking of Steel City, uh, the double sleeve team will be at Steel City. All four of us will be there. This will be the first tournament that all four of us will be there, and we'll also be there on Friday. We'll have a table set up so we can meet and greet, and also don't forget to say hey to Guy because he will be representing us in the creator only tournament that will be happening. I believe it's on Friday, right? I think that's right. But anyway. So it's safe to
Yeah,
say,
right.
Ty, you have plenty of people that around you to kind of test your limits, huh?
Yeah, I think that's been like a huge thing and like getting better.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. You know.
Hey, that's exactly right. Well, anyway, do you want to tell us why we're doing this podcast? What's the purpose behind it?
Yeah, I just really want to help people get better at CDH. I see it a lot on Twitter and Discord, people asking for help or people messaging me directly. So I would love to just put out there what I can, and I know that you probably feel the same way. I just want people to get better at the format I care so much about.
What we're gonna do here is kind of a uh general items to kind of help you maybe improve in that little thing that you may give you something to build on because maybe you've only been to small uh 16 person tournaments and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get my entry fee to the Steel City Spectacular or another tournament of similar size, and I'm gonna try my hand at it, and we're gonna see it. So the goal here is to give somebody a good starting point to maybe improve as a player. Ty, do we want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background on me and my journey with CDH, I started so bad. Maybe like 4 years ago when CDH was just getting off the ground. Me and my friends would go to tournaments and we would be so excited if any of us won a single game at all. So we truly started from the bottom.
Oh,
Luckily, a lot of us have crawled out, but
speaking of what, my first game that I won in a tournament was actually against Ian.
oh, that's awesome.
And it is the most asterisks. There's like five asterisks beside this game. We were in GalaxyCon Richmond. I'm sitting across. For some reason, they decided me, who's 0 and 2, I get to sit down with my co-host Guy, who's on Cis Ian, who's on Cis and another guy playing good stuff, five color slivers. So we sit down at the table and deck check. Both Ian
Oh,
and Guy get a turn loss.
oh no.
So
Devastating.
so then they get a turn loss. Ian had the wrong counter spell because he submitted the wrong deck list, and Guy had a Teferi that was a little bit too pringled to be in his deck.
Dang.
So then we go start the game. I get turn two Najila, then swing with a Samut on the next turn,
Oh.
draw a bunch of cards. Now Ian and Guy are starting to play the game. Um, and then I go turn three Thassa's Oracle. Ian has just enough or just one mana to play a Flusterstorm. I had just enough mana to pay all but one, but I had a Elvish Spirit guy to pay it, and he's
No
just like,
way.
damn.
Dude, what a sick first win. You'll never forget that.
That was my first one in a I guess major tournament other than an FNM. So that
Yeah,
was
I would have been posting about that in every group chat with my
Oh, we
friends
did.
forever. Yeah.
We posted it on Twitter. I'm standing right beside him, and we posted it. And then he picks his phone up and goes, like, yes, this happened.
That's sick.
So he
So
was completely cool about it, but he's like,
yeah.
oh man.
So we both can say we've been at the bottom of this, just excited
Yes.
to get a win at all. So it is
Yeah.
a humble beginnings. So we can say something about
Hey man, it's that's what it's all about. It's just having mainly the main course of it's having fun and being good at what you're doing.
For sure.
So, do we want to start off with our first topic? The first one is I think where a lot of people get hung up is before the tourney.
Yep.
Before the tournament, uh, just a couple bullet points you have here is like what are the goals of the tournament, and also understanding the meta and using your tools like CDH Top 16, Moxfield, and YouTube to figure out what the meta is like and what you're going to expect. Do you want to elaborate on those couple items?
So we'll start with what's our goal. Obviously, if you've never played in a tournament or
Hmm.
won a game before, you can't go into the tournament thinking that you're gonna snipe the whole thing. That's just kind of unrealistic, and you shouldn't go in thinking that. Like you should go in thinking about it as a learning experience. So if this is our first tournament or Steel City is gonna be your first big event, like be hyped on being there and be hyped about like I want to win one game, I want to win two games, like I want to convert to top 16 or make it worth playing the second day.
Yep.
So just like coming in with realistic expectations, so you have a good time and you're not like crushed when you don't win the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
Even now, I qualified for the Indy, I top four tournaments pretty frequently, and I still don't go in thinking like, oh, I'm gonna win this or I'm gonna top four today. Like I go in just like trying to have fun, trying to win a couple games, maybe have a positive win record, but just coming in with a good mindset and not thinking that you're just gonna snipe it all, right? And I think so. If we have our goal, we're trying to win a couple of games or whatever is realistic for you. I think the next big thing is like picking our deck and thinking about the meta game.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're in the open, meta game is going to look so much different than if you're in the invitational. Your
Mhm.
meta game is going to be so much more wide open. Obviously, we're going to see a bunch of the top decks, the blue farms, Tim Necrom,
Yep.
the Thrasios decks in all 25 variations that they come in now.
Yes, all the variations of
And,
Thrasios.
Rogsai,
Plug and
and I'm
play.
sure, yeah, I'm sure people will bring a bunch of other random stuff.
How do you pick your deck for the week? Like if how do you what do you do or what tools and how do you go about looking at the meta, studying the meta leading up to something like the Steel City?
Yeah, so in a big event like Steel City Open, we were in Nashville, and I went to Nashville to play
Hmm.
in the Land Go event. So pretty similar type of big event, open field. I recently have been playing a lot of Rogsai. I think Rogsai is in an interesting spot in the meta specifically that has led me to make that choice. But I see a bunch of other valid decks. Obviously, I look at things like Datatog and his posts on Twitter and EDH top 16 to just see what like trends are, see what's winning event forever and always. So, if Blue Farm is if you're interested in winning at least one game, like Blue Farm is a great place to start looking at.
Yep.
Um, it's kind of the staple. So if you're picking a deck that's not Blue Farm, you have to say to yourself, can this deck beat Blue Farm? I think if the answer is no, you probably don't play it, right? I don't know how you feel
Uh,
about it.
and maybe this, if you could see the Lilian in the background, you can kind of discern that I was a Jund player once upon a time.
Jun
I
Gamer.
love Jund, but I think Blue Farm. I kind of consider Blue Farm as this. Yes, I know they're not the same style of deck, but I consider Blue Farm as kind of the Jund of the format. But Blue Farm is kind of the. I see Blue Farm as kind of the bouncer of the format. It's going to knock out anything that's not strong enough to compete in the format, or things that can it. Your deck has to, if it does not counter anything else in the format, it needs to be able to contend with Blue Farm because you're going to see Blue Farm 9 times out of 10. It's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree completely. I think people talk about Blue Farm a lot specifically and how it is. kind of like the post of the format. And like you said, Modern used to have that with Jund and other formats. There's other examples, specifically like Legacy. You have to be able to beat Reanimator, or you
Yep.
aren't going to be able to compete. So I think that when you're thinking about CDH specifically, can I beat Blue Farm? Can I beat Thrasios or Kinnan? And then if the answer is yes, then your deck is probably a viable deck.
Yep. Because I mean, you're always going to find those wild decks that are like, I mean, I guess some of the wild card decks, or I guess this not really a wild card, but like Lumra and Itali and those kind of wild card decks that kind of just come out of nowhere. Those decks can be, you can struggle against those decks, but having a game plan against the maybe the top five decks is probably good. I think that, I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And Atali's a weird one. I mean, there are some decks that like Rogsai, Atali, Ral, Storm decks, and Lumra, they can warp a pod kind of around it, but the whole texture of the game can change when you play against those decks. So when we're practicing, one of my best friends, Cam Daddy D, he's become this notorious Atali player, which is so sick. He was one of the dudes that we were celebrating if we got a single win. But when we practice games, if Atali's in the pod, I just don't count that game as a good practice game because it changes everything. Like I might run into one Atali all weekend, right? If I'm playing 10 rounds of Magic, like I might get unlucky and play against Atali once. And, if you're playing 10 rounds, you only really need to win 5 of them to make top 16 or whatever. So that one loss against Atali, I'm not too worried about.
I can hear all the Atali players like, we're a viable deck too.
No,
Don't
you
make
are,
fun
you
of
are. It's so good. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of it.
I'm afraid I've recently developed a fear of Lumra. Like
Oh
I just
no.
I just stare at Lumra and I'm like, okay, I think I gotta counter the force of vigor. That doesn't work. It still doesn't. Shit.
Yeah.
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Because
Loomer's a
it's just
weird
like you
one.
sit there and stare at it. It's like, oh, it has a bunch of lands. Oh God, now the lands are making copies of the Lumra,
Yeah, there's
and
nowhere
we're
for me to
doing this
interact.
again.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah. I've been trying to play some Lumra, so I've been playing Rocksai for a while and registered Lumra this past weekend for some tournaments. And I didn't do too hot, but people were terrified of it. Somebody told me, they said I'm more afraid of Lumra than I am of Rocksai, which I thought was insane.
Yes, the truth. Lumra is the truth. Mono green is terrifying.
Scary. Food chain wins games or something like that. So
Yes.
I think once we're thinking about decks, you picked a deck that you think is good.
Yep.
I think the next thing you need to do is practice in some serious practice. Um, so if you have some really good friends or a group of people that you play with, I would, if you're not playing Blue Farm and you decided to play a deck that is more of a rogue deck or whatever, I would still proxy up a Blue Farm deck and then start making some pod compositions with your friends and start
Yeah.
playing.
How many games? What's a good is there have you found there being a good number of games or is it am I gonna
Yeah.
be okay if I practice one or two times a week or do I need to just sit there and live and breathe this deck leading up
Yeah.
to the tournament?
I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone to like just go out and no life CDH for the next, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, 2 weeks, however long it is when you're watching this podcast, this city or whatever tournament that you want to go to. But the more games you play, I think the better you will become.
Mhm.
Obviously, if there's a situation where you can't play or you just have some extra time on the bus or in the bathroom at work or wherever you are, you can goldfish on Mox Field, and that definitely is viable too. Just to practice your lines, practice your mulligans. It's something I find myself doing all the time is goldfishing. But definitely, the more games you can play, the better, and not just more games, but quality games too. We should be like setting a timer, like it is in a tournament. Saying like this is where I would force a draw in a tournament. So if we are specifically practicing or game planning for Steel City, we should look at the rules that they're following and like practice all of our games exactly by these rules, uh, so that we're completely prepared for the tournament.
Nice. Um, now, I think we've kind of covered that. Is there anything else before we move on about any other preparations for getting ready for a tournament, or is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think that other thing that I would have to say is, you know, don't if you're going to Pittsburgh with your friends and it's your vacation, don't go out and like party super hard the night before the event.
Party afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or you did really good on the first day, and then you go out Saturday night with all the people that are scrubbing, and now you're suffering all day on Sunday. Like, just don't do that.
Okay, now let's move on to the next portion of this.
Mhm.
How to win and how to you're sat down at the table, you're seeing your pod composition, you practice, you know what kind of decks at the table. How are we starting a game? How are we giving ourselves the best chance at winning?
Yeah, I think the first thing I do when I sit down is obviously I look to see what the other commanders in the pod are, and I like to just be nice to people. We
Hmm.
play a social format. This is a fun thing. So I like to just smile and like say hello to people. I usually just make small talk when we're mulliganing. But this is a social format, like I said, and being nice will always be a good thing. It's
Yep.
way easier to make deals later on when we get to politicking if you're like a likable person and they want to be friends with you, right? So sit down and then we start our mulligans. So I think that's the first like big talking point. And when we're trying to win a game is what hand do I keep? Should I keep this or not?
Now, something I would like to elaborate on that a little bit, like, and you're talking about what hands to keep. Uh, let's say we're sitting down. I'm Blue Farm. You're Rock Side. There's a Rock Thras and a uh, Lumra. Since we were just talking about Lumra, how how are you starting a conversation about? I assume everybody at the table is going to be looking at you. You're Rock Side. Everybody say, "Hey, keep a mind break trap so he doesn't pop off on turn one and kill us."
For sure.
Um, but how
That like
how do you,
pre-game politicking.
pre-game politicking. How's
Yeah,
the pre-game politicking start? Because this is happening before Mulligans, theoretically. So how was this?
yeah.
How do you approach
Or
this?
yeah, people are shuffling or whatever. Yeah, I think it's interesting. The first thing that I like want to talk about with that is sometimes you'll sit down and you won't know what a deck is or how when somebody's playing something rogue or you don't get to play as much and there's just a deck you don't understand. I would start by asking the table like, how does this deck work?
Hmm.
We've talked about Lumra. If a mono green's sitting down next to me, I'm looking at the other players at the pot and asking them how it wins, or
Yep.
asking the pilot how it wins. Same thing with if you don't know what Sisse does and how it wins, or there's a Sisse player that sits down and we don't know if he's playing Sisse or claim chowder Sisse,
Yep.
like the rock side version. So we start those conversations like, hey, do you know if this person is playing real Sisse or fake Sisse?
Hmm.
To kind of get an idea. Obviously, if they're playing like creature Sisse, maybe keeping your Rristic Study or your Mystic Remora is not going to be as good as if you know that they're playing Clam Chowder and they're going to cast an Ad Nauseum on turn two. Like your fish is about to be so good. So those are
Yep.
kind of things to think about asking other people at the table, and then with Rogsai specifically, I'm trying to deflect so people don't take me too serious. I've been known to play Consecrated Sphinx, and I always bring that up before a game.
I've
But
seen he is not lying. I've seen it in his list. That
yeah, wrong side, baby, rise up.
yeah.
Shout out Logan. uh,
Hey.
but oh, we got it. Wrong size in the house. Wrong size in the house. But
um
yeah, those conversations are important pregame. Obviously, if there is a turbo deck and at the table and the pod composition maybe isn't equipped to deal with it the right way,
yep.
starting to say like we all should mulligan for a counter spell, or like I'm willing to mulligan low for a counter spell if you also mulligan low for a counter spell. Like, don't blow me out here. That kind of deal making. One of my locals, his name's Isaac. He's won a bunch. People probably know who he is. He's been number one a bunch. I don't know what it is. We end up in every top 16 game together ever. He always sits first. I always sit second. And he pleads with our opponents to go get a counter spell. He shows his whole hand. Like, he'll be mulliganing, he'll show the whole table except me, and he says, "Should I keep this or do I need to get more counter spells?" I don't know if you need to go that far, but that kind of conversation is important, I think.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, though, mulliganing too hard to your pod is a problem I think a lot of newer players have. They'll see that rock side or a tolly and freak out and be like, I got a mind break trap or nothing right here.
What now what's an example of mulliganing too hard? Like
Yeah.
I mean I've got a decent hand that can do something
Mhm.
and I throw that hand away to go get like what's mulliganing too hard? Like what's explain.
Yeah, so if we're C1 or C2 and there is a Rog side behind us or an Atali behind us or a turbo deck, I think that people might keep a pitch a hand that is playable, thinking I need to go get the counter spell or I will lose. And you still have other opponents to help you out. But if you have a hand that is good and like says I will win the game, you should keep it anyways, right? So, if you have a fish or you have a turn two Rristic Study and you're like, I need something up on turn one or I'm going to lose. So I pitch my turn two Rristic Study, like you shouldn't do that. You should keep your value engine because they have to storm off through it anyways, right? So
Yeah.
that's still a good keep. So don't think about it too hard, obviously, but still have those conversations.
Okay. Um, now the next one been the source of a lot of people's negative comments about CDH lately. Like we had the 11-hour game, we had the 6-hour game in Land Go. We
Yeah.
had we've had plenty of people bullying people and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. How do we how do we politic? How is what's a good approach to politicking? I know you mentioned earlier being friendly, being easy to talk to. Um, but how do you not make yourself a doormat for people that are a lot more forceful, I guess, sitting at the table?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate for not being a jerk. I think that makes it unfun to play the game, and we are here just to have fun. Obviously,
Yep.
if we're playing for prizes and we're getting serious, it's time to get serious. That being said, don't let people make you a doormat. You can always call a judge. You can always say, I want a game action, or I want them to be quiet while I make my decision, or whatever. So don't be afraid to do that. But when we get into the actual politicking, I think that there's a good way to go about it. Um, Keeping the conversation open and not telling your opponents what to do has, I think, for me worked. I still get out yapped all the time. I play against really good players all the time that are just better at it than me. Or, you'll have an opponent that won't listen, but you have to understand that they're seeing the game from a different point of view. They have 7 cards in their hand and you don't know what they are. So I think that you need to give your opponent some grace there too.
Yep.
But I think that CDH is a game of information. So if you're trying to politic, be willing to give and take. I show my hand probably more than I should, but when I'm willing to make deals or somebody's doing something scary, especially if I'm playing Rog style, like in the back of my mind, I'm still a threat. People are always like, "Oh, he's just going to untap and play Necros."
Yep.
So don't be afraid to show your hand and be like, "Look, I'm not the threat. I'm not going to do the thing that you're scared of. Like, we need to deal with this. This guy right
We
now
are
is
about
winning
to
the game."
die.
Yeah. And if your opponents don't see it and you see it, like you need to speak up. But at the same time, you don't need to freak out and like tell your opponents like counter this, because then they might just spite you and not counter it.
There have been times where I've sat down at a table and I usually try to talk through someone's turn. Like if they're, let's say they're uh, court of calling for, and their number is 2 or 4. That immediately, like if they're saying for 2 and they're in rock thrust, I'm gonna say, well, they're probably going for a Boro here.
Yeah.
They're gonna Talongate and kill us. But the reason I say that is because there's been some times where I said that and it's like, oh yes, I do have a Boro in my deck. I'm gonna go get a Boro now.
Sure. Yeah. You could always
And
accidentally give it away. Yeah.
yeah, that's been kind of a you want to tell the rest of the table, but then you're sitting at there and you just told the person that was about to go get, I'm gonna go get this Llanowar elf. Oh no, I could win here. I'm gonna go get a Boro and now I'm gonna win.
Yeah. I I think that that's a risk you have to be willing to take. I think you should assume that your opponent that is piloting, if they're playing Rog Fast, they're putting a cord on the stack. I think the safest thing to do is to assume that they know the lines better than we do as the opponent. So
Yep.
it's better to just talk about it out loud, right? Whoever's first in priority, I'm like, don't pass. Like, let's talk about this. Let's figure out what he's getting before we start making game actions, just in case. The same thing could be with like somebody is cracked, let's say Blue Farm just went to combat with Timna. In response to damage, they cast a Vampiric Tutor.
Yep.
Let's really start thinking about what's about to happen to us. Like, what could they be drawing in this situation? So having that open conversation with your opponents, just like pre-game, we're talking about like, what does this deck do? How are we going to beat, not die to Atali on turn two? We'll
Here,
talk about that when people put spells on the stack.
one thing that, and this has also been kind of a topic of contention, and I know a lot of people. What about lying? How, if you're sitting at a table and I'm a Timna play, let's say I'm swinging with my Timna and I'm a Vampiric Tutor, and somebody asks me what you're gonna go get, and I say I'm gonna go get a Soul Ring when I'm really gonna go get a Underworld Breach. Um,
Ooh, yeah, I
I mean, if you get the
that's a hard
Underworld
one.
Breach, you have the
That's a hard
silence in
one.
your hand, you win the game.
Yeah. Oh, just don't answer or whatever. I am not a liar. And I get upset. I've been lied to or had a deal broken, and obviously that's part of the game. Unfortunately, like there's no rules against lying, and
Yep.
sometimes you might even think that lying is a positive EV play, but you have to remember that CDH is like such a community, and man, the last thing you want to do is lie, and then now every time you sit down in a pod, people aren't willing to make deals with you because they
Yep.
know that you lie.
I, I'm yeah, I'm the approach that I have is I try to tell half truths of
Sure.
I'm gonna go get something that's going to stop this. You may not like it, but I'm gonna go get something.
Yeah, you're not gonna like my answers.
You're not gonna like this, but I can stop him from winning.
Yeah, that like talk no jutsu. You gotta craft your words carefully. I think some decks require that more than others. So when
Yep,
you're thinking
definitely blue
about
farm.
when you're thinking about what you're playing, yeah, Blue Farm, you gotta make deals. You gotta talk your way into things. That's part of the reason why I play Rogsai so much, or even Lumra now that I've been playing it. When you're the turbo deck and you're like very honestly trying to win the game, sometimes you have to talk less because like you cast a necropotence, and they're like, how much are you gonna necro for? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to win the game right now. Like, stop me or don't. Uh,
What do you think
so
I'm gonna do with a necro? I just paid 30 life into it. What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, how do we push for a win, or when's the safe time to push for a win? Because I know there's a theory in Magic. It's the and I've heard Jason with Critical EDH refer to it as the window theory of the optimum time that you're going to have to push for a win, whether it be early in the game, late in the game, what have you. But it's that best time for your deck to push for a win. Now, do you have any? Would you like to elaborate on that, or?
Sure. Yeah, I think this was the hardest thing for me to figure out. Back when I was talking about, me and my friends used to not win very much, and now we do a lot better. It's this concept, and not being scared. So let's say, for me playing Roxai a lot, that window usually comes pretty early in the game. When you're sitting down and you're playing against Blue Farm, I don't know how many free counter spells you run, but most Blue Farms only run five, maybe. They got Fierce, Swat, Pact, Mind Break, Trap, Force of Will, maybe Force of Negation.
Mhm.
A lot of those have conditions, though. Turn two, you probably don't have a Timna, so that takes you off Fierce and Deflecting Swat. So now I know that there's probably a 10% chance you have a free counter spell in your hand, and especially if you tapped out. I'm starting to think about turn two, my opponents are tapped out. Like now might be a really good time to do something scary because they probably can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Versus turn four, you've got your Timna out, you've got white mana up. That's terrifying. I'm really thinking I missed my opportunity, and how we have to answer that window is going to be different. And obviously, it's different for every deck. Specifically, Blue Farm, you've got a much more flexible game plan than something like Rogsai has or Rog Thras has too. You can still play a Dark Ritual, play a Necropotence on turn one, but you can also wait, play a fish, chill, accrue value, and
And then Somebody push for a win, born upon a win, go for it.
Yeah, so I think Blue Farm does a different game plan, and I've watched Jason's coaching videos, and they're awesome. But you can kind of make that window for yourself, where maybe a turbo deck or some other kind of deck has to kind of force through. You know, yeah, if there's an opening, we gotta just punch at it because we might not get another one, right? So you can't be afraid. When you think that there's a window, you should just jam 100% of the time. It's better to jam and lose than sit there with the win in your hand the whole game and the game end and be like, oh man, I should have won. It's better to
Um,
push.
Speaking of counter spells, this is actually one of the coaching sessions that I did with Evan. He brought up when you're playing with your friends or playing or just doing practice games, see if you can guess how many counter spells they have in their hand at the end of the game. You're looking at like you're saying, okay, he's only got 2 men unless he wants to force a draw, which they most likely may. He's only got 2 lands. He's theoretically not going to pact me here.
Sure.
He's going to wait for somebody else to use the counter magic to stop me, or um, or somebody's doesn't have a Timna out. They can't deflecting swat or whatever. It's kind of trying to count. I guess like counting cards, like in blackjack, you're counting counter spells. That was something that Evan taught me. Was see if you can guess how many counter spells are left in someone's hand. Um,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea too. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Another thing that you can think about too as the game progresses is like you can see their graveyard. Like obviously, if
yep.
they've already played 2 or 3 free counter spells, there can't be very many left.
Oh, that's the when and and this is a huge tell, and I'm it's pretty obvious. Uh, I will ask for the entire table's graveyards, like when we're late in the game, or better yet, when I know somebody is about to present for a win, I will ask for their graveyard and I will count their interaction in their graveyard and say, okay, table, they've cast Force of Will, they've cast Force of Negation, they still have a pact, they still have a fierce, they still have a deflecting swat, or they still have X, Y, and Z. So that's one of the things that I've picked up going to the bigger tournaments is making sure to pay attention to the board state and the cards that have been revealed and the common knowledge at the table.
Yeah, yeah, for
Like
sure. Graveyard is public knowledge. Yeah,
what things have been exiled and what things have been put under um chrome moxes and exiled with this spell or that spell. So that's something that I think should be kept in mind is paying attention to what's been cast throughout the game.
for sure. And that's something that even gets me and my friends still. There was a game recently at a local. There was a blue farm in seat 4 that mulligan to 3, and I was like playing rocks. I was like, I don't need to worry about this guy. He mulligan to 3. It'll be okay. Turn 1, he just plays a Cavern of Souls. Name's Wizard Passive. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
okay, okay, this will be fine. This will be fine.
It's not fun.
I'm like, I try for a turn 1 Rristic or Necro. It gets countered. I'm like, it's still okay. Blue farm's out of the way. Turn 2, he plays the land passes. Going into his next turn, he Tainted Pax, Thorkel's the second to last card because he mulliganed it to the bottom. And then he plays an uncounterable Thorkel and just crushes us. And that idea of like being aware of what's happening, if he's playing Cavern of Souls and naming Wizard, we're it's probably the end of the game. So that's like an alarm bell that should be going off, right? And that's just like staying on top of all of the information because it can be information overload when there's 4 board steps. You're looking at 7 cards in your hand. You're thinking about 21 other cards in other people's hands, and there's a bunch of permanents on the battlefield. It can be hard to keep track of all of it.
So sometimes, and it's not always, but sometimes I've found that the quiet person at the table is probably the most dangerous player at the table. The one
Oh,
that's just
100%. I think that like goes along with the board information too. Is like you got to be looking at your opponents for tells. Yeah, one
yep.
of the big ones that you see pretty frequently is people start counting mana in their hand, or they'll like do it with their lips. They're not like counting with their fingers, but they're counting. So just looking up to And I think that goes with practicing and getting comfortable with your deck. You need to be comfortable enough with what you're about to do and with your hand to be able to look up and see this opponent is counting their graveyard for some reason. I'm in danger. So you need to get
I
comfortable so you can look out for
I'm not that good, but what I've started doing, just at random points in the game, I just start counting for no reason.
those. You gotta
I
throw
just
them off
start
the set.
counting like I just start counting shit for no reason, and people like look at me like I'm like they're gonna be in danger. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Land pass, and they're I've sat down at people and I'll do that, and they're like, okay, like they're waiting for the born upon a wind, or they're waiting
Yeah,
for something.
it's never coming, guys.
It's never coming because my hand is dog shit. I
Oh
just do it
boys.
just to fuck with people.
Yeah, if you can't control your poker face, you might as well just put fake tails in.
Just poison the well as hard as you can.
Yeah, dude, anything to throw them off the set.
But don't lie about it. But if
Don't lie.
people want to sit there and think that they got you read, just throw them a curveball. So make sure they're paying attention. Um, but anyway, is there now before we move on to the next topic, is there anything else that you think you want to add for uh, sitting at the table, playing, um, politicking, or presenting a win, and also too, I will add one thing to it: be a good sport about it. Don't if you're, I mean, just don't be an asshole to people, and I mean, especially like if they stop you or something like that, don't be an asshole to people. They're trying to win just like you are.
Yeah.
But anyway, did you have anything else you want to add to
Yeah, I think the best advice is the shortest, and it's make them have it, baby. It's better to push and get stopped than sit there and lose and not contribute to the game. So when in doubt, jam and learn from your mistake when they stop you.
Interesting you say that because that when I first started playing CDH, um, I mean, I knew that I what, and I'm not is it wasn't a confidence issue, but I just knew I'm not winning this game or I'm not winning. So what my goal
Yeah,
was I'm going to sit down at this table. I'm gonna at least try to present a win once, and I'm going to try to be an active part of the game, and not sit there with a land and passing and going to mull or discarding a card every time or go to cleanup every time. So my goal is, and that has
keep it
progressed
that
me as a
way.
player of just trying to get better at it is just playing with, okay, I want to be a part of the game. I want to at least be able to, even if I get stopped, I'm going to present a win. And the early and I've found now that I'm playing, and I'm probably butchering his name every time I say it, but I'm playing a Terminac list
Okay.
for Blue Farm, and I was on a Freedom Waffle Blue Farm or a version of Freedom Waffles Blue Farm, and then I was like, okay, I want to go more turbo, so I'm gonna play the Terminac uh, version of the list, and I just started. Oh, I'm gonna put a turn two Necro. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And they just all stare at me like you have not. What is turn two net? I mean, stop
Yeah,
it.
you
I
were
don't.
supposed to play a Rristic Study. Yeah, you were supposed to play a Smothering Tide.
Oh no, there was one time I'm sitting at an F&M and I'm like, I'm gonna play Rristic Study, and it's like turn two Rristic Study, and we have one person that in the turn order before me puts down a voice of Vic. No, puts down a Cutzel. I'm like, because I had the choice of either putting a Necro down or a Rristic Study. Like, okay,
Scary.
I'm going to put the Rristic Study down because I don't
Yeah.
know what that Cutzel player is getting ready to do. I want to draw some cards to get rid of the Cutzel so we don't die on their turn.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Rristic Study gets countered immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh
okay,
no.
okay, bet. You triggered my Tarataru. I have an extra treasure. I'm going to play three black Necropotents.
Oh boy.
So,
Got him.
and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go 30. I'm gonna go to 10 life.
Yeah. Got him. Yeah, I think that that scenario right there is an interesting one too, where maybe you can get some information out of your opponents and like your Rristic Study still resolves. They go to counter it, you say, "Look, there's a Cutzel. We're not going to be able to interact. Like maybe don't counter this, take it back. Like we can make a deal here." And then you
Yeah.
get a Rristic Study and you have a counter spell, but it worked out for you. You pooped on them.
Yeah, I think that's also one thing we may have touched on it is I've encountered people at the table. They are not interested in politicking. They are not interested in. They see a Rristic Study. Yes, Rristic Study is a scary card. I am not doubting it in the slightest. But sometimes there is a necessary evil to save that counter spell for something that's about to make you lose the game.
So an interaction like that just happened for us. There was a new player. I went to a local in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they are building their scene there. There's a lot of new players, which is awesome. And we were playing a game. I was playing Rog side. There was a Rog Thras diagonal from me. I was C4. Rog Thras is C2. Rog Thras is doing some scary stuff. On my turn two, I demonic tutored, played nothing, and passed. Rog Thras on their turn three, so they're ahead of me. They played a Gaia's Cradle, terrifying. They tutored for a Gaia's Cradle, actually, terrifying. And then they played the Enduring Vitality, the three drop. And the opponent next to me, seat three, playing Tivit, countered the Enduring Vitality, even though I had face up. I mean, I had demonic tutored with an LED out. And they swan songed the Enduring Vitality. And the Rog Thras player was like, no, please don't. Like, he just demonic tutored. We're going to die. And it was a newer player, and they were like, no, I have to swan song this. You already have a cradle. Yeah, you can't have the Enduring Vitality too. And then I untapped, played Breach, had Brain Freeze in my hand, won the game. And that whole idea of like you can't blow it too soon on the interaction, and sometimes it is scary. Like Rristic Study is a scary card, but sometimes it's a necessary evil, you know,
And also, this is a to that point. This is also something I got from Ian. Is usually counter spells are the worst cards in your life. I mean, they're the worst cards in the deck.
for sure.
The point behind the counter magic is buying yourself one more turn. How can you utilize this counter spell to buy yourself one more turn?
For sure. I think you
Um,
need to think about it like, does this just stop me from losing or does this help me win? Like, does this counterspell win me the game? Is how you should
yeah,
be analyzing them.
yeah, and the point and where the difficulty is that I've found as far as countering something is when is the like I played a Lumra in the Land Go Open. I had no idea what the hell Lumra did.
Me either,
Uh,
bro. And I'm
and
playing it.
and I'm like, they put a force of it. They put a amulet of vigor, and my dumb ass, I had the mental misstep in my hand.
Oh, did you let it resolve?
I let it resolve because I was like,
End
I
of the
wanted
game.
to get my turn. I was so focused on making sure my turn one smothering tide did not get countered. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold up this mental misstep because I'm gonna tap out, and if somebody has a
Mm-hmm.
swan song or something, I can counter it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the next two turns, the Lumra player goes LED, cracks all the stuff, plays Lumra, and just hits the nuts, and we're dead.
Yeah.
So that would be a hey, this in that situation, that piece of counter magic could have stopped the win or stopped the Lumra player, but it goes back to learning the decks where their old shit cards
For sure.
and what when is the right time to counter something and not just knee jerk reaction. Oh, I see a Rristic Study, counter it.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And I know people in the comments are going to say, "Well, you just you just can't let Rristic Studies resolve all the time." It's like, yes, you can't. If
Mm-hmm.
but is it worth it to leave a player out of like lock a player out of the game and then now you by yourself have to fight the player that's winning the game. If countering the Rristic Study and then the next couple turns you're doing LED breach, brain freeze, whatever, then good on you. That was the right play. But
Yeah.
blowing up the Rristic Study or Mystic Remora, where you have a hand that doesn't have enough counter magic to really go toe to toe with another player or another two players, Um, think about, hey, okay, Mr. Blue Farm player, I know you went to five and you put a Mr. Remora. I'm gonna leave your Mr. Remora on, but we're gonna have to work together to stop him because he just got a snap cap seven and he's getting ready to he's not missed a land drop. He's been going. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's that level up moment right there, right? Like getting comfortable enough in the format to know like Rristic Study scary, this one has to resolve, or whatever it is.
yeah,
I think that's the next level for a lot of people.
yeah. Okay. Now after the game,
Yeah.
what is the I know there's gonna be some games where we lose, some games where we win, and what are some key points to kind of make maybe a good day or a bad day, make it all
Make it all a
relatively
good day,
okay.
right? Yeah. I think the first thing to do is be nice to the people you just played with, even if you lose or win. Yeah, don't be a jerk. Say good game, be nice, shake hands if they want to. Like, be a good person. Don't storm away. And we've all been there. I've been tilted. I'm sure you've been tilted.
Oh, I've too many times.
Yeah, I still get tilted, but it's just a game, man. It's just a card game. So be nice. I think that is the first thing to do is be nice. And then after that, I think we should think about our game. Obviously, we don't if we round one, we punt so hard. We've never punted. So, we had Oracle consultation in our hand and we tapped our mana wrong and now we can't cast the mana consultation for some
Oh,
reason.
I love tutoring for the wrong land.
Yeah, even if it's the worst punt of our life, we can't think about that all day. We still have 4 more rounds of Magic, like 5 more rounds of Magic to play. So maybe we need to go outside, or our round ends early. Maybe we need to go walk somewhere and get an energy drink or do it whatever it is you want to do that'll make you not think about how hard you just punted.
Or or you could make the wrong decision and go over to the vendors and buy a card that's way more than what you want to spend on it
That
just to
too. That
blend
too.
just to bling out your deck that you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm
I
bad about that. I've got
on
a
I'm so bad about artist signatures, man. That artist proofs get me. It's the little
yes.
things like that though that make the conventions fun outside of
Oh,
playing Magic, man.
absolutely.
And that you have to like experience. You can't just think about your game all day. And you also, if you're coming with your friends, which you probably are, you need to go root your homies on, man. And if they win, you need to go cheer for them. And if they lose and they're salty, you need to like go cheer them up. Like it's about the community. It's Magic the Gathering. The Gathering.
Well, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to go over or anything you want to plug?
Yeah, follow me on the website formerly known as Twitter or Instagram. It's Ty
Right.
X Ohio. And then if you have any questions specifically about decks, really turbo decks, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to talk, and I hope to see you guys at Steel City.
And we will also be at Steel City. We'll have to meet up and
Yeah,
hang
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, we're going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so
yeah,
we'll be there for the haul.
we are driving up myself, Ryder, and one of the other guys. Or two of the other guys. We're driving up Thursday evening, and then we'll be there all the way till Monday morning.
Sweet.
So so
Hell yeah.
there'll be plenty of time to hang out.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, make sure to give or check out Ty on all of his socials and stuff will be in in the description below. And don't forget about the Steel City. We're all going to be there. Come and check us out. Participate in the tournament. And I think there's plenty of other tournaments. Isn't there like a Black Lotus Legacy tournament?
They got Legacy. They have no ban list commander, real no ban list. Like silver border cards are allowed. They've
Ugh, I
got
don't know. I don't want to. That
Blacker
sounds
Lotus is
miserable
legal.
but fun at the
Yeah.
same time.
They've got vintage Legacy, $30 budget vintage. It's
Yeah,
a great format if you haven't checked it out. If you guys are just playing CDH, playing CC card Magic will make you a mechanically better Magic player, and that's a
absolutely.
fun format to check out. That
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.